Hey guys, Jeremy, my way MFG. If you're a guy like me out there making YouTube videos, you're always trying to think of something great to make a video with. You want something that'll go viral, you know? I've never had that. I come up with a plan for today's video that had something for everybody. It was going to be the greatest video ever. It involved Eliza, road construction work. We were going to show harvesters and fields being taken out in the Illinois fall harvest. Even had a puppy. And Mrs. My Way was going to be in the video. She hasn't appeared in a video for a while, Mrs. My Way. If you guys only knew how true that statement was. Something for everybody. Did I mention puppies? It was going to be a thing of beauty. I was finally going to get that Emmy nomination and beat that damn George Clooney. Been trying that for years now. But anyway, none of it panned out. Let me tell you why. It's Saturday morning, and Colton had to work. My son Colton, he was working up on Route 180. About 20 miles from here, maybe. So we thought, hey, it'd be fun to drive by, right? So we're going to take the new puppy, Hank, and we're going to jump in Eliza. We're going to drive through where he's working, wave at him and stuff. And then we're going to take back roads around through Victoria and that and show the harvest coming out. And we're going to have combines, Illinois harvest, road construction. Have I mentioned puppies? It was going to be a thing of beauty. So we jump in Eliza and we head out of town. Everything's good. Car's running great. Don't have any problems for a while. We get about 4 miles north of town, and I got to a T in the road where there was a stop sign. And I went to take off from that stop sign, and the car died. It was still rolling a little bit, so I popped a clutch, thinking it would, you know, catch and go. But it didn't. So the car came to a stop. I hit the starter button, dead. Didn't have any spark, I found out. Luckily, I had taken a test meter with me. So I first tested to see if I had voltage at the positive side of the coil. And I did. I had 11 point something volts there. Then I took the signal wire off of the points and I put my meter on it. And on continuity, I had Carol hit the starter button. A test light would be the appropriate thing to do that with, but I could see the number display moving on the test meter, so I was assuming my points were open and closing. So I thought, well, I got a bad coil. And then I reached down and felt the coil, and it was terribly hot. It was this one. And this is the one that was on the car when I bought the car. Anyway, if you guys watched the BSA videos, I had these two coils. That yellow one came off a Cub Cadet, and then I had this one. I was trying them on the BSA in the beginning to get spark to it, to see if I could do a test fire and just get it running. That coil I was pretty sure was bad. It got hot on the BSA, and I tested it, and I couldn't get any resistance out of it. This one, I was getting a reading on, but it wasn't a correct reading, so I was thinking both of these was bad, but it was going to be easier to get the car running than it would to load on a trailer and get it home. So I took them up and I tried them. I put this one on first, and the car started. I thought, well, maybe I can get home with it, you know. I went about 100 feet, and this was dead again. So that's no good. I put this one on. I got nothing out of it, so it's getting thrown away too. And this one's going to get thrown away. It's not that big of a deal for me to pull that distributor off there and just see where my points are and where my dwell's at. I could have too much dwell in there, overcharging them coils. And I need to check that before I put a new one on and damage one. But if that's the case, then my points have slipped on the dwell side. And last time they slipped on my timing side. So A lot of trouble with these aftermarket points. I don't know if I'll ever get it right unless I get new old stock points somewhere, but, and maybe it was just a bad coil, but it's something we need to check before we put a new one on, you know. Anyway, that trip in Eliza was probably going to be about a 50-mile trip. I was going to leave here, go through Wimsfield, Victoria, come back through Galesburg, probably swing back around through Lake Bracken. I know you guys don't know any of these areas, but it was going to be a pretty long trip. So I'm glad the car broke down where it did. We didn't have too much trouble getting it home. We went up with the F-150 and just took a tow strap with us and towed it home at about 20 miles an hour. And you know, it took quite a while going that slow, and we only met one car the whole time, so there wasn't much traffic, which was good. Taking a look at the fence, I need 15 more fence boards, and this is just about done, and boy am I glad of that. Digging in poles were a killer, and I put a pole every 4 foot, so I had a lot of holes to drill, right? And then if we look over here, I'll show you where I'm at on the garage wall. I haven't got a whole lot done this week. I've been doing a lot of plumbing jobs this week, dishwashers, water heaters, all kinds of crap like that. I got the scratch coat on down here. I was wanting that to carry out good before I put the rest of the blocks on. This is the 3rd day that's been applied, so that's ready to go now. And I've got a lot of this wall, the rest of the foam board insulations on. I've got a lot of the plywood on it. I got a little bit left to get down there, and then on the other side of the door casing. And then I just use plywood too to case the door out with. So that all worked out. That all worked out pretty well. That'll give me a place to hang shovels, rakes, all that kind of stuff. We'll see what kind of hangers we can get from Menards to do that with. But anyway, I'm gonna get this Yamaha into the backyard, sit down at that table, pull the carburetor off, clean up them idle circuits, make sure everything's clear. If we can get this thing to set in idle, we've gained something. If not, crank seal's bad maybe. Anyway, let's see if we can do something to make that any better. Loosen this clamp here that goes around the intake boot. Let's see if we can get the gas line off. Where I've been working on this was inside the building. I didn't want to get it all gas smelly in there. I showed that in real time. Comes off pretty fast, right? I also wanted to pull this main jet needle out and see where I had the clip at. I wanted it down low. That would give me the most fuel, richen it up in my mid-range. When this pulls up, when it's completely out of the jet and you're at wide open throttle, you're basically just running off the size of the main jet. But while this is still seated in mid-range, depending on where you put this clip, if it's clear at the top, it's going to be down in jet more in relation to your slide and your airflow. So with that clip clear down towards the bottom, it's best to run it as rich as possible until you see where you're at with it, and then lean it out from there. It's better to be too rich than too lean. So we'll leave that there. What I really want to do is check the idle circuits in this. which are them 3 holes back there, and some little pinholes up in there and an idle jet. And I'll just take that apart and I'll see if I can show you a little bit. I don't know a whole lot about these, but I know a little. I would say our float level is good, and it wasn't leaking anywhere, so I don't think the float level is too high. It didn't seem too low. It seemed like a pretty good bowl full of gas there. Let's get the bowl off. That screw there is your idle screw. It goes clear through. It's got that brass point on the end. That holds your slide up so it's not seated clear down. That gives you your idle. Okay, I don't understand this carburetor real good, but I pulled this brass pickup tube out of there. I think that's where it picks up for the idle circuit. And if I spray carburetor cleaner up right there through this opening, it comes out right here where the choke would normally go. I've got it out at the moment. I think I'm going to pull this brass tube out of here, plug this off with my finger, and see where else it comes out at. Okay, with the choke blocked off, we're coming out of this hole right up here. I can stick my wire in there and see my wire. So that's clear from here to here to here. We know that much so far. These air passages in the back of the carburetor I need to get this out of here and see if I can see the end of this wire. I'm thinking I can't tell right now. I don't really know how all this works. I'm just trying to make sure every opening is clear, you know. There's 2 gas passages there. I got this piece of MIG wire ran through there. That one's open. And then if I stick it in the other one, these would be the idle circuit gas passages. I stuck in the angled one. I can look up here and I can see the wire. But this air passage right here, if I stick the wire in there to where it ends, it's coming up to right here. That should be giving air to those two gas holes I just had to wire into, and that seems blocked off. I can't get anything through it, nor could I blow air through it. So either I'm thinking about this wrong or this passage is blocked. And I don't see how you get to it. Hey guys, I'm on my way back from my friend Troy's house, and I found out what was wrong with this carburetor, I'm pretty sure. So I took it down to him, He knows a lot more about these two-strokes and carburetors and stuff than I do. So he's went through this thing. I get it home and get it on the bike, see if it runs right. I hope it does. I think it will. And then I'll tell you what was wrong here. So anyway, I got about 20 more miles to drive, I'm thinking. So anyway, I got this carburetor all cleaned out the best I could. I put it back on the bike. It was still running poorly. It wouldn't idle. And then anything off idle, it seemed like it was running too rich. Seemed to be running too rich. So I pulled the carburetor back off this morning, which was following day, and I had it all broke down on the table with all the parts laid out. And I sent some pictures to my friend Troy. He knows everything about these. And I said, I feel like something's missing. Is there parts missing from this? Because I bought this at a swap meet. And where's your idle jet? Got to looking, there was no idle jet in this carburetor. There never has been. It was like that when I bought it, I guess. And without being the one to take it out, I didn't realize it was missing. So Troy looked up online what size idle jet a 360 Yamaha should take. He had one. I took the whole carburetor down to him. He checked some things I didn't know to check, put the idle jet in it. Good chance we're going to be good to go here, I'm thinking. That's most likely going to fix it. And I was watching Troy, and he, as he was working on this carburetor, he explained a lot to me on how to identify where these passages go by determining where these brass plugs have been drilled. Now that I understand that, I've got a lot better knowledge of these than I had just a few hours ago. So that's always good, right? When you can learn something like that from somebody that knows what they're doing. But anyway, I'm gonna put this back on the bike and hopefully it runs good now. We'll see. Yamaha seems to be running great, and it's been probably 5 years since I've rode this. I've been wanting to ride it. I couldn't figure out what was wrong with it till well, we pulled this out a few weeks ago and started messing with it. Glad I did. I think the next video I'm going to strap a camera on my head and we're going to go for a ride on this. And I always enjoyed riding this bike. It's going to be great to be able to get out on the road with it once more. A little bit of history on this Yamaha. I've had this thing about 20 years, I suppose. And what happened, I was looking through eBay one night and nobody was bidding on this thing. And I placed a bid on it, and I think I paid $150 for it. Only problem with that is it was up at St. Charles, which is a suburb of Chicago. I'm not kidding you. I'll do anything to stay away from Chicago. I never go there, ever. So I'm like, damn, I won the bid. Now I got to go to Chicago to pick it up. And it was a barn find that somebody had pulled out of an old barn somewhere, and it hadn't ran for years. The gas tank was rusted up. It was too bad to use. I had to get a different gas tank for it. Anybody that was watching the video where I was messing with the points, some of you guys that might know Yamaha 360s, you're probably thinking, that shouldn't have points. That should be electronic ignition. It was bad. And I ended up taking a points ignition stator plate out of a 250. And that's what it's running on. But anyway, I used to ride this thing all the time. And I had a plastic gas tank on it that I'd put on because the steel one was bad. Well, the plastic one cracked and started leaking. And when it did, this thing was always ugly. I thought, I'm just going to tear it down, clean it up, paint it, get some new parts for it, make it a little nicer. When I did, I could never get it running right. And I was back and forth between ignition and the points and the condenser and the carburetors. No matter what I did, it just didn't seem to work. And I finally got another carburetor to swap me. And what happened was it ran equally as bad with either carburetor. I was just kind of lost on what to do. And I think it was a combination of everything. I've got the points set right now. You guys watched me do that in the last video. And then the swap meet carburetor was missing an idle jet. And the other carburetor, I must have thrown it away. I can't even find it. So idle circuit's bad in that one too, possibly. And maybe I still had an issue with the timing until we done the work a few weeks ago. But I think it was just a snowball rolling down a hill kind of effect, and it seems pretty good right now. So next video, we're gonna go for a ride and hope for the best. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for following along. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, all them things. We'll catch you on the next one. Later, Jeremy.